Well, hi everyone. My name is Scott Annan, and I am a math professor at Cal State Fullerton. This fall, the fall of 2024, I'm going to be teaching introductory combinatorics in the math department. This is Math 471, and if you're watching this video, my guess is that you're either planning to enroll or you're already enrolled in the class. And I'm really excited about that because this is one of my favorite subjects in the whole mathematics curriculum. I've taught the course many times, and I find the topics and the questions that we look at in this course to be fun and also very practically important with great applications to the real world. So for all of those reasons, I'm really excited to be teaching the class, and I'm excited that you're going to be in it as well. So what I'd like to do in this video is run through sort of how the class is going to work. I'm going to take a look at the Canvas course page for the class and also look through the syllabus and kind of give you a feeling for what to expect over the fall semester. So with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead here and try to share my screen so that you'll be able to see, hopefully, the home page on Canvas where I'm going to keep all of the materials that we're going to be using throughout this course. So on the home page, you can see that we have a schedule and a syllabus, and I'm going to take a look at those with you in just a moment. And then we'll also take a look at some of these tabs over here on the left side to kind of show you where to find some things over there that are going to be helpful as we go through the course as well. So let's go ahead and start by opening up the syllabus here, and let's see if it'll show up for me. And I'm just going to go through it fairly quickly. You guys can, of course, read this on your own as well. But just some basic course information to kick things off here. We're going to be meeting in McCarthy Hall 476 on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 4 o'clock until 5:15. And I am going to be recording the class lectures using Zoom so that in case you want to review a lecture after the fact, or if you happen to have an emergency and miss a particular class, you should be able to go into my class lectures folder, which I'll show you where that is in a little bit, and pick up the videos. So I am going to be recording the classes in Zoom. So I have a Zoom classroom. I also have a Zoom office as well as a physical office. And you're, of course, welcome to meet with me during my office hours in either modality. So whenever I'm having office hours, they will be both in person and in Zoom. And you can see I've got my office hours listed here, mostly Tuesdays and Thursdays, because that's the same days that I have all of my classes. I'll just be mixing my office hours in between the classes that I'm going to be teaching. You'll notice that I do have office hours right after our regular class, and then also later on into the evening as well. Usually on Sundays and Mondays, I will be hanging out in my office as well in the evenings after 8 p.m. I'm not really a morning person, so catching me in the evenings is often more feasible. And Sundays and Mondays, I'm usually going to be there, and I'll try to let you know if there's any reason I might not be there. You're also welcome to email me or to set up a different time to meet if it would be preferable for you. Just shoot me an email. You can certainly do that. The text for the course, I already showed it to you here. It's Bruwaldi's Introductory Combinatorics book. It's the classic version, and it's the 5th edition, and you do need to have this correct book. Now, I actually have a number of copies of this book actually in my office. So if you ever happen to come to campus and you're like, I want to work on Math 471, but I don't want to have to carry my book around everywhere, well, you can stop by my office and borrow a copy from me anytime. I do have a few copies. Also, there's an electronic version of this book that's on the internet that you can just download for free. And I'll show you in a little bit where there's a link for that so that you can, if you don't want to have the physical book, but you just want to go with the digital copy, that's also fine. I'll let you read the course description and the learning goals a little bit on your own. It kind of gives you a little bit of an outline of what we're going to be trying to talk about in this class, some of the big ideas and the big goals. But I'll leave that for you to take a look at. I'm going to stick to more of the logistical points for right now. In your grading for the class, there will be homework and quizzes. More homework than quizzes, really. I'll probably only give quizzes very occasionally. But there will also be 2 midterms and a final exam. Now, if you look at the weighting of each of those components and you add all those numbers up, you realize it only adds up to 90%. Well, that's because whichever of those 4 parts of your grade, whether it's the homework or one of the midterms or the final, whichever of those 4 parts of your grade you have the strongest performance on and have the highest score on, I'm going to make it count for an extra 10% of the weight in your grade. So if you have a really strong final and that's the best part of your semester, then I'll count that final exam for 45% of your grade instead of 35%. Or if you're super solid on the homework and you're always making sure that you're turning things in that are solid and clear and good, and that's the best part of your grade, then I'll count that for 25% of your grade instead of 15%. So it's a little perk that you will feel eventually. However, as we go through the course of the semester, I'm not going to be adding that extra 10% until we've got all 4 components completed. So you won't see it reflected in your sort of class standing, your grade as we go along from week to week to week. It isn't going to have this little bump of your grade in it. But you can kind of in the back of your mind be counting on that at the end, there is going to be a bump and it'll make, a couple, 2, 3, 4% difference, something like that, depending on your exact numbers to your grade at the end of the semester, something to kind of hopefully help you out a little bit. Also, I do something called qualitative performance. And this is something that I don't really associate particular numbers with, but through the course of 15 weeks, I can make an assessment of how my students are doing in terms of attendance and engagement, participation. Is there a good attitude, improvement over the course of the semester, a strong final? There's a number of things that I can use to sort of justify bumping a student up by a couple, 2, 3% as well, just using this qualitative performance. So it's just another good reason to make sure that you're always staying engaged, coming to class, stopping at office hours if you need help, collaborating in a cooperative spirit of learning with myself and with your classmates. All of these things are good things that, although we don't really put numbers on them, they do make an impression. And I do kind of make those impressions through the course of the semester. I have a grading scale here. It's also a little more generous than your standard 90, 80, 70 scale. To get an A-, you only need 87.5%. A B-, you need 75%. And a C is 65%. I probably won't give very many C-minuses if I can help it. But you can see it's a little bit softer than a usual scale. I will not be changing this scale. So if I need to somehow like curve grades or whatever, I will do that with the raw scores that I have in front of me, either by adding points or offering extra credit or something like that. But I'm going to leave this grading scale exactly fixed the way it is so that there's no confusion about like what grades correspond to what numbers. So that is my grading scale. The dates of the exams, you'll want to get these into your calendar early so that you know when you're going to be a little bit busy getting ready for them. Our first midterm won't be until early October. The second midterm will be right before the Thanksgiving break. And then our final exam is on Tuesday of finals week. So do make sure that you have cleared your schedule for those dates when we have those exams, because I don't like to do makeup exams. It's a huge hassle for me to have to do that. Okay, attendance policy. I don't really take attendance. Normally, I might do that at the very beginning of trying to get to know people a little bit, just to call out some names to work on that. But once we get into the regular routine of the semester, I won't be taking attendance. However, as I said, I do kind of make mental notes about people who seem to be missing class a lot or things like that. So try not to be in that camp. And also anything that we do in class, you are responsible for. So of course, you could always watch my Zoom video recordings after the fact. It's not as good as being in person in class, but it is an option, not only for the content of the material, but also there may be some announcements. Now, usually with announcements, I will not only mention them in class, but if it's something really important, I'll usually send out an email to everybody. At least once a week, you're going to get an email from me kind of with an overview of what we're going to be doing over that course of that week. And I might mention some of those announcements in that email. But still, missing class is not a good thing. So I don't really have a strict attendance policy, but that you should not interpret that as somehow meaning that I don't think that it's important to come to class. Important dates for adding and withdrawing. I'll leave that for you to look at. Homework, we will have about a dozen, maybe 13 homework assignments, something like that for the whole semester, approximately one per week. Occasionally, if I want to really try to keep people on task, I might dial it in and have you do 2 things in 1 week, but usually it'll be 1 assignment a week. Whatever day it happens to be due, the homework won't be due on that day until 11:59 p.m. So for example, if it's due on a Tuesday or a Thursday, which is often going to be the case, you'll have a chance to meet in class with me and with your classmates earlier in the day. And if you hang around and ask questions after the fact, you can have a number of hours after the fact to kind of shape up your homework before you turn it in. When you submit your homework into Canvas, please just submit 1 file, though. Don't have a bunch of attachments. I have to click on a bunch of things to open them one at a time. Compile and compress your assignment into 1 file with all of the pages, please, 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 in the correct order. And then you can just submit it into Canvas. Now, if 2 hours later you realize you made a mistake and it's still before the due time, you're certainly welcome to resubmit your homework. You can overwrite your initial submission with a new submission, and that's no problem. I don't mind you doing that if you need to. So sometimes people are worried they're going to forget to turn it in after they go home. So I've seen people in the past that will turn it into Canvas before they leave campus, but they plan to work on it a little bit more at home. And so if they work on it at home and they have an improved version of the assignment, sure, it's totally okay if they want to then go back in there again and resubmit the assignment as an overwrite of the initial submission. No problem at all. I mentioned something here about quizzes. Again, I'll let you know if we're going to have any quizzes. There will probably be a few quizzes, but those will be fairly sporadic in nature. Generally, if I feel like the class needs to just do some general studying, if we have an exam coming up, things like that kind of sometimes motivate me to give quizzes. I will be grading your homework myself. I won't be grading every single problem from every single assignment. I will be picking and choosing kind of at random. I'll generally try to pick some problems that are, from the beginning of the assignment, some from the middle, some from the end, varying difficult, some easy ones, some hard ones, trying to get a different collection of subjects covered. I just do the best I can with that. It's not a perfect system, but you should just try to do all of the homework so that no matter what I end up grading, that you can get credit for it. But please do work on writing clear, organized, logical solutions to your homework problems. Things should always be explained, and you should leave space between problems and try to write in a way that's easy to find stuff. So just work on that a little bit. You don't have to type up your solutions. I know some students like to do it that way. I will accept handwritten solutions, kind of the old-fashioned way of doing things. However, those solutions have to be written neatly. It has to look fairly nice and polished by the time you turn in a final copy. A lot of times what I recommend with homework problems for this class is that you start by working them out on scratch paper or on a whiteboard. Maybe you're talking about them with a friend or with me, and you kind of get all the ideas gathered up kind of in your own space. And then the chance to sort of check yourself, do you really understand how this problem works, is when you then go back to try to write up a more polished version of your solution, which is what I'm ultimately going to read. So think of it that way, that, this isn't like, freshman calculus where you're sort of just doing calculations and going from one to the next to the next to the next, and you're not having to ever backtrack. There is some backtracking that you may have to do, some reorganizations, kind of putting ideas together and figuring out how to get it down on paper. So it is worth it to take the time to do that, not only to keep me in a good mood grading your papers, but also for yourself. When you want to read your own solutions down the road, it'll make a lot more sense if you've taken the effort to write them up well in the first place. Okay, let's see. Academic integrity. I'm required to put that in my syllabus. I certainly hope it won't be an issue at a class at this level. This is basically just that anything that you submit, whether it's on an exam or on homework or anything else, anything that you're submitting for a grade, you need to be the author of that work. And it needs to be your understanding and your ideas. So it's perfectly okay to work with other people and even to work with me, as long as that final write-up that you're doing was carried out by you and that you are understanding those ideas. You're not just transcribing what some math genius down the hall is telling you to write down, or something that you got off of the internet. By the way, I can usually figure out when people have been looking at the internet because they always use different notations and they say things differently. So that comes to me very quickly, and it's not a good way to sort of try to succeed in this class. Remember, the exams are the lion's share of your grade in the class. And so if you are trying to find shortcuts to really learning the homework, then unfortunately, not only does that put the homework at risk, but you may not learn it as well as you really needed to learn it to be able to spell things out on the exam a bit better. So anyway, just keep that in mind. I hope I won't have any problems with academic integrity with this class. Emergency procedures and other information about DSS services. I'll let you read about that. One last thing, I do have a pretty big class this year, and so it will take me a little time to learn names. I always learn people's names better when I see them sort of in small groups. So if you could come by one or two at a time to my office, and you can do it either in person or in Zoom, sometime in the first 3 weeks or so of the semester. So I think I said by September 17th. If you could stop by and just spend 5 minutes, I'd like to get to know you, find out a little bit about what your interests are and your professional goals, and anything about the class that maybe you have any particular interest or concerns about. It'd be a great opportunity to do that. If you'll do that sometime before September 17th, I'm going to drop your 2 lowest homework / quiz grades. So what I mean by that is, we'll have some homeworks, we'll have some quizzes. They all weigh the same amount. What I'll do is I'll just throw them all in a pile and throw out the 2 lowest ones, whether that's 2 quizzes, whether that's 2 homeworks, whether that's 1 of each. But I'm going to help your grade even a little bit more as long as you take this step and stop by and introduce yourself. So would really appreciate it if you would do that for me. Okay, so that is a quick look at the syllabus. I'm going to go ahead and close this document now. And there's another document here on the homepage, which has the tentative schedule, and it has those important dates on it. I'll try to get this one opened so you can take a quick look at it. Those important dates are up there on the top. They're the same ones that I just went over in the syllabus. But what I have on the second page is a little bit more of a breakdown of the topics, what chapters we're going to cover and when. So you'll notice, for example, that we're going to start off at the beginning of the semester in chapter 3 and then go back to chapter 2 thereafter. So sometimes we'll do things a little bit out of order, or we might skip some sections here and there. It, of course, is a vast subject matter that we cannot possibly get through this entire book in 15 weeks. So we have to pick and choose a little bit. So I'm going to be picking and choosing. And if you kind of have an interest in kind of where we're at or what we're thinking about doing, this calendar should give you some good ideas. I do have some review days built in here, to catch up, or if I decide I want to throw in another topic, I can always do that. For the midterms and the final, I am planning to do some kind of review sessions, either pre-recorded videos, or I might even make some new fresh live videos. But I won't be necessarily reviewing for the exams in class. So when I say review and or catch up on this document, I'm not talking about reviewing for an exam. I'm just talking about, probably it's going to be catching up. But if I feel like, maybe we want to spend a little extra time hammering some ideas down. It just gives me a little bit of flexibility. So anyway, I'll let you take a look at that. Don't hold me to it. I could easily fall behind a little bit or have to shift things around some more. And if I do that, it's not the end of the world. Okay. Now, in the Canvas course page here, you can see that the assignments are going to be here. In fact, I've already got some assignments for you. The very first assignment is called an August video assignment, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But then you can see the assignments here, number 1, 2, 3, and so on, and the due dates, 11:59 p.m., whatever day they're due. And so most of the time, I'll just open one of them up here. You can see most of the time the assignments are just problems out of the book. Once in a while, I might have an extra couple of problems here or there of something that I found interesting that's not in the book that I'd like you to think about. So I could do that from time to time. But anyway, the assignments are certainly there. But the main place, and then of course you've got your grades here. But the main place that you're probably going to be spending your time on the Canvas page will be in the files section of the Canvas page. And that's because in here are a number of resources that I hope you will find helpful. First of all, I have folders for all of the exams, midterm 1, midterm 2, and final exam. These are resources folders. And in those folders, I won't go into it right now in too much detail, but you're going to find old sample exams, solutions to those sample exams, a packet that kind of overviews the material that you're going to be tested on, some extra problems, some review session questions, and solutions to all of that, right? It's all going to be in those resources folders. So you'll definitely be digging around in there, especially when there's an exam kind of on the horizon. I'm also going to be putting the homework solutions into a folder here. You can see it's called Homework Solutions. And these are not just the answers. These will be fully worked out and explained solutions to the problems in detail. So if you struggle on a particular homework assignment, or let's say you lost some points on an assignment somewhere, well, you could look at the solutions that I've posted to sort of see what I was really looking for there and maybe where you might have gone astray. It's a good first thing to do when you're kind of not sure what the solution to a particular problem was supposed to be. The other thing I like to do roughly once a week, if I can find time, is have you guys get up and out of your chairs a little bit to do some group work. And this is not graded. And you can see I've also got the solutions to the group works here. These are not generally going to be graded, but there's a dozen of them or so that we'll do over the course of the semester. And it's just a chance to take a break from listening to me talking about the material and to practice with your friends a little bit on some examples of your own. So, you've got usually just a small number of problems here that I think are kind of cool questions I'd like you to think about. So, and then, as I said, if you don't finish them during class, no problem. You can finish them whenever you want. And then you can go to the group work solutions folder to get the solutions to them. So bottom line is the solutions to basically everything we're going to do this semester is going to be found in this files section of the Canvas page. So you'll definitely want to keep this kind of at the front of your mind. Now, for whatever reason in Canvas, I can't put video content in the files folder of Canvas. So instead, what I do is I use the pages section for that. If I open up the pages section, I mentioned earlier that I would be recording the class lectures. So those recordings are going to be found in here. Now, right now, we don't have any lectures yet, so you don't see anything here. But I'll be putting links in here on a daily basis as we start working through the semester, and you'll be able to look back and review the lectures, or if you missed a lecture, you'll still be able to watch it. The quality of the video, particularly the video, but also the audio, is not going to be, professional. Like I'm not a tech guy myself. So, I don't have a huge amount of experience with this, but hopefully it'll be good enough that you can get something out of it. Excuse me, it'll be better than nothing. And I've had students tell me in the past that it's a nice resource to have. So I will post those lectures there, but please don't get into the habit of saying, oh, well, I guess I won't go to class today because I can watch the lecture later. If I start to notice too many people are not coming to class, that's not going to be a good sign, and I may end up discontinuing this, which I don't want to do because I know people like it. But you really should be making every effort all the time to come to class. Okay. However, there's actually a quick little exception to that I have to talk about next, and I've actually put it in the announcements part of the Canvas page. I have a welcome email here. Normally, I don't use the announcements portion of the Canvas page, but since I got this thing put together way ahead of schedule, I decided to go ahead and do that. And the upshot here is that for the first 2 weeks of this semester, I am not going to be in Fullerton. So what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you watch some videos. This is what that August video assignment was that's due at the end of the first week of the semester. I'm trying to highlight just August video assignment right there. Since I'm not going to be in town, we are actually not going to meet in person during the first week. So you can stay home, you can watch these videos, you can take notes on them, and you will get full credit for the first homework assignment, which is called August video assignments in Canvas. You just have to submit a scan of your notes by the end of the first week. And that will catch us up to date with the material for the first week. During the second week, I am not going to be necessarily in Fullerton. I'm actually not quite sure where I'm going to be yet, but I'm not planning to hold class in person, but I may end up holding it in a synchronous format. I'm going to let you know as we get a little bit closer to that time, whether we're going to do it in person or in Zoom. Probably not in person, sorry. Whether we're going to do it in Zoom or whether I'm just going to have you watch some additional videos. But for the first 2 weeks, we're not going to go to MH 476, all right? I am going to have all of my office hours for the first 2 weeks in Zoom only. So it's really in the third week where we'll start using the classroom and my physical office to do a lot of the primary things we need to for the class. So I just wanted to let you know that. Some of you have had me before, you know that sort of in this post-COVID era, I have been kind of taking advantage of the chance to kind of extend some time for myself to do a few other things, because as many of you know, once I do come back to Fullerton, I basically camp out in McCarthy Hall like all the time. So I will more than make up for being gone for the first 2 weeks in person. By the time we get to week 15, I will have been much more around than probably any of your other professors. Just a guess. Okay, I'm not trying to brag, but that's just my guess. Anyway, so there's a little bit about that in this little welcome email. But I think I've gone over the important parts of the Canvas page, including the syllabus, the timeline, and some of these tabs that you're going to be taking advantage of. So hopefully that gives you a pretty good picture of kind of how the class is going to run. And I'm really excited about it. I've probably taught this at least 6 or 7 times now. It really is a fun subject. Even a 10-year-old can understand a lot of the questions that we're going to look at in this class. And so it's nice, especially for some of you who may be interested in working with the sort of the younger students, to have some exposure to these kinds of problems, because they're fun problems, they're puzzles, and people consider them very much in the heart of mathematics. So I am very fortunate to be the one to get to share this all with you, and I'm looking forward to it. And I hope that you are too. I hope that you're ready to work hard. I will be expecting a lot of you in terms of your time, your effort. The homework will take your concentration, and you're certainly going to have to prepare well to really get a good grasp of this material. There's not like a massive amount of prerequisites for this subject, but on the other hand, you do have to sort of get a sixth sense intuition built around some of the ideas that we use to solve these problems. And you can only get that by putting the time into it in the first place. So I hope that you're ready to do that. Just kind of come into it with that mindset and you should be fine. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch my syllabus video. By all means, feel free to reach out if you have any questions for me in the meantime. And I do look forward to seeing you all in person in just a few weeks back in Cal State Fullerton. Thanks so much. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye for now.